One of the biggest things is to learn how to say no. Learn how to say no. Because when you learn how to say no, there's always a yes elsewhere. That yes elsewhere brings you peace, brings you independence, brings you empathy and compassion. The older I get, I realize how much freedom I have. Now that I'm a single person, after 25 years of marriage and my age is 70s, I'm in my 70s, my kids are close to 50. I've told all my kids, I'm close to 80 and 100 than I am to 50, so don't count on me. Solve your problems. Everyone's got problems. I've said this 100 times on my videos. You have to think for yourself. You have to take yourself into account. You only have one life, it's you. Besides your physical health, because you're going to get aches and pains like I do, it's your mental health. And this is where I really realize my 10 brothers and sisters' effect of mental capacity. I'm not saying that anybody's crazy. I'm saying the dysfunction in our family, our expectations that our parents were God, it's not true. It's just a myth. And then if you get a spouse involved, look back. Especially you divorced and potentially divorced in the near future, or gone through a divorce, or planning a divorce. It's 50 to 80%, even worse now. And how about all the people that cheated on people that stuck in the family because it was cheaper to keep him or her? Think about it. Money is more powerful than family today. If you're on YouTube, like 115 million growing, I'm just talking about the truth, man. I'm not a therapist. I just went through experience. I'm sure you've heard of Dr. Laura. Dr. Laura is, I believe, is a therapist. Her audience is heavy women. They talk and talk and talk. I'm giving you experiences, not theory, because I had to go learn on my own, just like everybody else. You're going through shit. Everyone goes through something. It's how you adapt, how you strategically make your moves. I think there's a movie that's out called Tom Cruise, All the Right, something like that. I didn't make all the right moves. I look back 50 years. When I was 21, I decided not to go back to my original college. After sophomore year, I said, you know what? I called my father, actually, and I said, you know, Dad, I'm going to go back to college, not knowing if I was or not. And I'm coming back from her, and then I'm not going to return to this college. I'm going to go to University of Minnesota versus a small private school that I went to. That was one thing at 21. I was still living at home, paying rent. I was working for my father. I was terrible in production. We were a converter or die cutter for 3M company, and we did millions and millions of parts and millions of dollars. 3M company. And my father was an inventor of multiple processes back in actually started in the 60s, and then I got there in 75. So it was a big business. We had 350 employees. But what I observed was, this is fucking big business. This is big business. And I didn't realize the kind of money they were generating, which was very profitable. And my dad had a partner. So at 21, I was going back to school. I promised myself I was. Or 2, I got a shot at being my father's right-hand man, which was very special because the top 4 of my brothers and sisters did not want that position. I took it. I think he knew that I had talent. I might be the closest thing to executing his vision, his legacy. I was all in, man. I was drinking the fucking Kool-Aid as partner because I saw it. I said, holy shit, these guys. Let's face it, I wanted to be a millionaire, a multi-millionaire. I didn't know what cash meant. I didn't know what assets meant. I didn't learn a P&L till later in life, and margins, and so on. The third item was when my father approached me and says, you know, Rock, you should get married because I got a duplex that you should invest in. But if you get a duplex, you should marry your high school sweetheart. So that was my visions at 21. At the same time, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm working many hours observing Then I went back to college. That was 1975. I had 2 years underneath me. I graduated my undergrad in 1981. So it took me about 8 years to finish my college education and get a degree. And I was proud of that because I was the only one of the 11 kids to get it. And I didn't know if it was going to help me or not. In fact, I don't think anybody was like, oh, Rock's going to college. No, I don't think there was that. And don't forget, I ended up getting married, buying a duplex, and having 3 kids by the time I graduated, 1981. My daughter was born in 82. So I had the 2 boys. And I remember my mother and father and my grandmother, I think, attended my graduation. I know my mom was really proud. I still got the pictures of her smile. My dad, it was expected. Dad's standard was excellence, not be good and do good. No, it was beyond that. And it was his excellence. The expectation was compounded, especially for me because I was his successor. That was his plan. I was his successor. It wasn't easy. I was under the microscope by everybody, not only my father. I got more reinforcement and empowerment from the clients because they saw that Rock's got talent. Rock's going to be the guy. I remember 3M guys telling me that, Rock, man, you got a gold mine here, man. Don't fuck it up. This is the place to be. And they were working at 3M. I thought, oh, wow, they're working at 3M. They got it made. No, they don't. You're working for a public company. You could get fucked. You're not independent. You're working for somebody, no matter what you do. Very few people become entrepreneurs. Very few. My analogy is sports. You might make it to the pros and get drafted 10%, maybe less. But how many really make it to the big show? Very few. Very few. And that's how I looked at myself. I got to the big show alone because people were tearing me down. And that's where Uncle Frank comes in. Everybody seemed like they were after me to tear me up, to make me not only fail, make sure I fail. He encouraged me, empowered me. He educated me. It was almost like, if I had to do it all over again, this is what I would have did. For me to have the opportunity to do it alone, that was huge. Because you can get stuck with the wrong horse. And if you get stuck with a support group that is fucking trying to kill you. That's why I watch 20, 48 Hours and Dateline. I don't want to be part of that. That's why I don't mind living alone. And I am very well prepared for if I get sick or I leave the country. I'm talking from sickness to death. I got a backup plan. And none of it is family. None of it. Because I don't want to bring a burden to anybody. When I got married the second time, my dad was my best man. That's right, my dad. He was never a best man in his lifetime, my understanding, from his relatives. So I'm very proud of that. At the same time, I didn't want to burden my 3 kids and burden anyone to travel because I married in Florida. So I only invited people from around the area, local. And I would say most of them were in their 80s. Seriously, I was in my 50s. Yeah. I didn't want to be. So I know what it's like to burden people. And that's what's going on in my family now. People are looking at charities. They're looking at obedience. They're looking at loyalty. They're looking at trust. And you know what? It's all down to money. Manipulation. My father and my grandfather, when we would play cards, there was a saying. Once you're out, you're out. There was no co-signing. There was no loaning money at the table. We would go say, go cry. Go cry. It was a fucking beatdown. Once you're out, you're out. Well, you know what? That's control bullshit. I remember raising my kids, as a single parent, as a single father, because I would tell my kids, hey, listen, I'm not your friend. I'm your dad. I would get kicked back once in a while. Oh, you're trying to control us. Oh, I hated that because I knew my dad controlled everything and everyone. And that's when I started breaking away. It's when I realized that, fuck, man, no one's going to control my mind. This is not a cult. The Catholic Church, even though I've been faithful And I drank that Kool-Aid for quite a while too. It's just different. And here I'm on YouTube talking about this, about Independence Day. What's it mean to you?